hear us?
I can hear you.
Thanks. Okay.
I can hear you.
Good. So who is that? Andrew. Okay. Welcome.
Hello.
Everyone to December's second meeting of the Audit Committee. It's 8:30. We have a quorum. 4 members out of the 5. The other member, Tony Cece, is out of town and makes his apologies. So welcome everyone in the room. Welcome Catherine. Welcome Andrew to the meeting. So let's go to item 1, which is the minutes of the meeting of 2 weeks ago. So we probably all remember quite well what happened. And thank you, Mary, for getting the minutes done so promptly. I reviewed them, gave you a couple of comments, which were included. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes? No? Okay, so can we have a motion to adopt the minutes? Approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve them.
Second. Right, all in favor? Done. Okay. So the principal purpose of today's meeting is, of course, the ACFR, which is has to be filed by the end of the month. So at the outset, let me say to the whole team, I think it's gone well. We're in good shape. Of the 4 years that I've been, well, this is the 5th year. I think we've made steady progress every year, and to me, it's gone very well. The draft we got was in good shape, so thanks to
And I can make a comment
team.
that I hadn't read.
Well, you
these
go
for
back a lot longer than me.
10 years ago. This is a huge improvement over 10 years ago. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, to everyone involved. Okay. And Bill and Mary, you don't know what you're missing, right? So.
If only I'd known.
All right. So what I'd like to do, let's take the MD&A, and then let's take the financial statements and supplementary and statistical information separately, and then the status of the audit. Catherine, what's outstanding, what remains to be done. So if Anne, you, Diane, Sean can tell us where we are with the document, and then we'll open it for comment from committee members. I gave you a handful of comments which you responded to and dealt with, as did Janet, right? Which I passed on to you. Tony didn't have any additional comments beyond what we'd already given you. Mary, I don't know about, and we'll come to you, Bill. Do you have any?
My comments are actually just much more data specific.
Yeah.
So I thought that I would send them separate because they really aren't report issues per se. It's based on my background at the Board of Finance.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of questions, just not a lot, a half a dozen or so questions on different things and stuff.
So do you want to sit with the finance team out of the meeting?
Yeah, I thought, I don't think that there's a lot of stuff that we need, it's more for me to get a handle on what's changed, when this is.
Yeah, because there's so many different schedules and they're formatted through different accounting structures.
Right.
So it does get, it's tough to follow which one is actually, Yeah.
And,
numbers.
so I just have like those kind of looks, questions and stuff,
So
which
Mary,
don't really have to do with the report. They
so
really
there's
have to do
nothing
with
that would change the
No, nothing
financial
that's going to
statements
change
before
your
we
financial
recommend
statements
approval.
And
whatsoever.
I just got 3 more comments. So whenever you want to get to them, they're minor.
Let's hear from them, but let me just ask Bill first. So in terms of your review, could you just tell where you are?
Sure. I haven't completed it, and I will finish it today. So far, I found nothing that requires any kind of questions or follow-up. So I'll shoot them to you.
To me, yeah. I mean, if you've got questions,
Yeah.
of the finance department, you can ask them, but if you've got, minor comments,
Yeah.
obviously no major comments,
No,
send them to me and we'll send them on. So, and I mean, just where we are, let's take the MD&A first and then the the financial statements and supplementary information.
The MD&A right now, it's pending really any questions that are coming up because that seems to be the main focus of where the questions are coming, what different schedules, what are some of the numbers where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I definitely would, if you want to email or sit with me and say, which schedule do you want to go through to explain where those numbers come from? And if you think of it from budgetary to modified accrual to full accrual. So from
Okay.
that perspective of how the schedules go. Really, it's pretty much the MD&A is done other than the questions.
As far as
that
you're
update.
concerned, if we had nothing, you're done, are you?
Different changes that I want to implement so that we would not implement based on some of the questions and comments that we'll just update, and then we'll get another final PDF draft out to you. And we'll put the pages on where the changes are so you can see that they were made or updated.
so it'll be like a red line to the version we got earlier.
Yep,
Right?
yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, we can do that.
So that would be, I mean, assuming you get the input in the next 24 hours from us, final input.
It would be this week.
Would
Yeah,
be
it would
this
definitely,
week.
yeah, as
Yeah.
soon as I get and you're comfortable with your questions and what it is that you want to know about it, we can then say it's final.
Okay. So that's, I mean, does that apply to the financial statements or just tell us where you're?
Yeah, the financials are the financials because they're just, the numbers are going to stay. It's basically, it's mostly the wording and what is it and explaining it. So it's more that wordsmithing on the front part of the MD&A.
Yeah.
Financials are going to stay the same because the numbers aren't changing. They're
Good.
final. Yeah, no, the numbers are final.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very good process this year. I have to give credit to, like you said, the whole team, but also PKF. They changed their process as well, automation on some of things, delved into a lot of things, a lot of testing, which is good. So it was a more detailed this year, but
Yeah.
also very good in terms of process and how it was done and responsiveness, I believe, on both sides. Definitely.
Janet, you wanted to ask some questions, did you?
I just have, and they're very minor. If we look at page 110, or in the supplemental schedules that I didn't have a chance to look at before I sent you my previous questions. No, not 110. What did I do here? Oh. Page. There was a place where we said we had AD rather than and, so it's it was in the change of benefit terms. So I obviously put page wrong. So I'll have to find it for you, but it's a minor thing. And then page 141.
She can give that to him.
Yeah, I can give that to you, sir.
after
And
the
then the other one, I just had a question because I can't believe we bought that many dump trucks. I think it's maybe a typo on page 141. Yeah.
141.
Oh, what happened? It was under,
This is capital S's.
yeah, if you look
Table
under
16.
Public Works, dump trucks went from 14 and it had been 13, 14 up from 2015 to 2022, and all of a sudden jumps to 154 for 2023 and 2024. And given that's the number right above it, I'm thinking
Oh, I
that's
see what you're
probably a
saying. Yep.
typo.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, good catch.
Wow, really good catch.
And the only other,
Yeah.
just I'm thinking, wow, quite a
Yeah,
lot.
that's a lot of dump trucks.
Um,
And we only spent
many were in town?
800,000 on
these are
vehicles.
very
Yeah,
minor kind of
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
typo things.
Good catch. Yeah.
And the only other comment, and it's not like it's wrong in here, it's just when we talk about in table 17, so this is like page 144, when we talk about the variances, normally when you see brackets around a variance, you think of it as an unfavorable variance, and you've done that on the revenue side. But on the expenditure side, it's exactly the opposite. If it's got a negative, it's actually a positive. In fact, we spent less than we budgeted. I'm just wondering why you don't change the brackets on those things. But it's, I mean, again, it's not wrong. It's just for a reader.
And I would just
Yeah.
have to make sure that unless Catherine could correct me differently, if this is a GFOA format.
And
So
if it
I
is,
just need
that's
to
fine. As
verify
I say,
one,
it's
if
not
it's that, if it's
wrong. It's
not,
just
yeah.
not what you usually see. That's all. That was it.
Can fix that.
Mary, is you'll deal with your points
Yeah.
afterwards. Bill, is there anything you want to raise
No,
here?
no.
No. I have just a couple. And it's questions for finance team, nothing that's going to change the financial statements. On page 72, risk management. The town, I'll read it. The town utilizes the risk management fund, the internal service fund, to account for and finance its uninsured loss of risks. Skip the next. This is, to do with the medical and dental claims. So skip the next sentence. The town and Board of Education pay premiums to the internal service fund for employees for medical and dental claims. The premium is calculated to cover the estimated cost of claims, payment based on historical cost estimates of the amounts needed to pay prior to current year claims. And here's the key sentence. The town and Board of Education retain insurance policies for employee claims in excess of the maximum liability amounts. Maximum amount liability to the town and Board of Education per covered participant is $100,000 and $300,000 respectively. Third party administers the plans in exchange for administrative fee. So it's just for my information, for anyone. Why would the maximum liability be different for the town and the Board of Ed? That's the first question. Secondly, the underlying policy covers the excesses. Is it one policy, or does the Board of Ed and the town have separate policies?
It is one policy. We go out to bid for one, the stop loss vendor. We just went out to bid.
It's one policy.
It is one policy, Sunlight, I believe. I can't think of it. It's Sun something. Can't remember the name of it. We just went out to bid, and there was significant savings on going out to bid for that premium for the policy of that.
So that's the one question. The other question is, the liability that we bear. I mean, why is it different for town employees and Board of Ed employees?
I'd have to get back on that one. I would think the size of our pools, because us being 150 employees versus probably 800 employees, but I'd have to get back to you on that one. I don't know that one.
I mean, I assume someone
our brokers look into seeing what's the appropriate.
Straight, or someone is advising us as to how much we should bear given the size of the populations and how much, beyond what point we should insure. It's that.
And I can speak to the history a little bit if helpful. One of the benefits of being here a while. So it was about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago or so, the insurance was being evaluated by the Board of Finance at the time, and we were looking at doing budget, and the decision was made to try to save some money on the cost of the stop loss.
Right.
By changing, we were 150, and they shifted, and they went out to bid 150,000. And this was prior to the town being self-insured. So the town was fully insured at the time.
Yeah.
And so the move was made to go from 150 to 300 in order to save money in the operating budget, which did pick up a little bit more risk on the other side. But it was a risk and investment decision that was made prior to the town being fully insured,
Right.
I mean, self-insured. And so when the town did switch over, they came in at 100, and it is in part the size of the pool. It's also, once you're at a number like 300, it's cost prohibitive to really try to trend that back down. Which is why the importance of the reserve, certainly, right? Because for us, any one individual insured person can go up to that $300,000. Right? So 1, 2, 3 unexpected folks hitting that maximum, it could be another $1 million. That wasn't anticipated. So it adds a little bit of volatility into the mix, which is why, again, we discussed the reserve and talking about those annually. But it had happened prior to the town being self-insured.
Yeah, because the Board of Ed has as you say, a longer history of, because you've been self-insured longer, of claim history and what is the magic number. And so you're not going to track back. I would say, and if the town has been self-insured for a shorter period, I mean, I'm sure this is happening periodically with our actuaries. We should review that number. Is 100 giving us the lowest cost? One needs time to develop a sort of claim history.
Well, and as you know, with any complex system, right, everything sort of equalizes around some of those decisions that you make.
Yeah.
So with the 300,000 as our individual stop loss, we also work on an aggregate stop loss of 20%, and we negotiate that. And most places want to give us a cap on that.
Yeah.
And say 20% up to, they'll only do so much. And we, again, negotiate to be sure that it's unlimited at that 20%. So if it's the 300 individual, but the 20% in the aggregate, so those work together, and then you build the reserve so that we have the protection. So, and I know I have not looked at the town. I'm sure it's the same thing, that the system is sort of built in equilibrium around those risks and the levers that you pull and the decisions that you make. So, yeah, I mean, we do look at it annually, as you know.
Sure,
Our
sure.
consultants work very closely together and do a good job.
Any follow-up questions on that? Thanks for the answer. No?
I also think, if I'm not mistaken, right, Brian, the Board of Ed and Board of Finance actually, I'll call it, participate in those conversations
Absolutely.
and those thoughts and where we were to get to there. Because I happen to have been,
It was,
it was my stupid questions that started the whole thing. So
I remember getting phone calls in the middle of snowstorms from Nancy Harris as she's driving back to Milford and receiving calls and quotes. And it was pretty intense time, but I think we got to a good place.
yeah, I think so
And it
too.
seems to be, it seems to be working.
Right. So I just wanted you to know it's not just, it's all the bodies really participate
I
with
assume
that.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it does make sense to have one policy. Usually, the larger your population, I mean, I have come from Deloitte. There's, more than 100,000 employees. I mean, the larger you are, the less you pay, because, one heart transplant, if you're 100,000 people, doesn't blow you out the water like if you're 1,000 people. So, good. All right. Well, thank you for that. The other question I had, this is for Anne and perhaps for Catherine, was over the page, next page 73. We have this new note on related party transactions, new in the sense we haven't disclosed this before. And we say that the amount included therein, 281,000, while not material, felt it prudent to disclose these related party transactions. I mean, for me, I think it is informative. We know, and the auditors have confirmed, it has not been, related party transactions have not been material to these financial statements in past years either. We would have had to disclose them. We've chosen to this year. So the question I have is, why would we disclose 24 and not include a comparative for to 2023, which was also obviously not material, but
Because it's more of a statement for disclosure versus a comparison year over year with some of the other schedules.
yeah.
So you would just note it that it's in there. Like you said, we didn't need to because of the volume of it, but you wouldn't typically put a comparison on a disclosure like that.
On the basis that these financial
Not a year over
statements
year
typically don't-
comparison type of.
footnotes don't
Yeah.
include comparatives.
Yeah.
And yes, Catherine, anything to add on that? I mean, you agree with the answer to the question?
I
mean,
agree. The financials aren't comparative, so I
Private
wouldn't put
sector accounting,
comparative.
where there's comparators for every number in the footnotes, would not generally, we're not making an exception here. If we put it in,
Correct.
we wouldn't be making an exception, right?
Right, you'd be making an exception to put it in.
And just to confirm, there are no other than the party identified here, there are no other related party transactions for fiscal year ending June 24, right?
That I'm remotely aware of.
So frame the question another way. I mean, we have to disclose related parties who do business with the town to the auditors. This is the only one, right?
I'm aware of, yes,
Aware of.
because we go through that
Catherine,
ethics where the board members all have to fill it out, and that was appropriately done.
The only one I'm aware of.
That's all I've got. So Catherine, if you could just tell us where we are with the audit, And so there've been a few changes this year, which we seem to approve of. Testing has been detailed and thorough. Tell us about, any exceptions you found, unadjusted errors. Obviously, there's significant misstatements. They would have been corrected. And where you are in terms of what is outstanding, rep letters, confirmations, anything else, if you could update us on all of that.
We had no unadjusted misstatements. Any misstatements that there were corrected. There is nothing significant there. Regards to the status, all we're waiting on is the town's final okay, and we'll make the last few changes. And then we just need the legal letters back. So I just followed up this morning. There's one we received in October. I just requested an update on, and then two that we need to receive back. So hopefully we get those back soon. If not, I'll ask management to follow up with the lawyers.
Yeah.
Are the legal letters, is that like status of litigation, or is that pending accruals on legal invoices?
It would be the status of any litigation, just to make sure there's nothing that needs to be disclosed.
So what did you say about the rep letters?
And then the rep letters, we will send that out to management once we have the legal letters back, since I need the date on the audit report in order to date the rep letter. I mean, if management would like to see a draft, I can send out a draft of the rep letter, but I just can't have it signed until the report is dated.
No, sure. And you're okay with that in terms of getting the rep letters all?
Diane has handled sending it out to the department head so we can have them sign off for each of their areas to say that there's nothing that changed for them, so that we're comfortable internally as well.
Okay. So, I mean, this goes to the town council for approval next week. I assume from what you said, we'll be in good shape to do that, right? And we have to file by the end of the month. So, Catherine, you think in good, confident we'll be able to sign?
Oh, definitely. As soon as I have the legal letters and the last changes, we can date those or wait till the town council's meeting. So likely they'll be dated the town council meeting date. And then we'll get them printed and ready to go.
Okay. Well, I mean, sounds like we're in good shape. That's, anything more from anyone on the document?
No, I mean, my only comment, and I'll just reiterate it here, on the MDNA, as I say, it is like night and day from where it was 10 years ago. It's so much better. And I'm not suggesting you have to change it for this year, but maybe think about for next year. When you read an MDNA, you usually like in the first paragraph to kind of get a 30,000 foot overall. Here in 3 sentences is sort of what's changed, what's happened this year, just so the reader, I mean, because really why you have an MD&A is to try to help the reader understand the financial statements. So that's all in that comment I sent you. That was all I was trying to say, is maybe at the beginning, we kind of just jump right into the weeds right away. So maybe just have an overall 1 paragraph. Here's the highlights. This is what you're going to see in the rest of the MD&A, basically. And I know you said you can't repeat stuff. I'm not saying get into the detail, just kind of get into just give an overall.
About how we format it.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to keep that under advisement, I'm not saying you have to
Yeah.
change this one, but I want
Yeah,
to see
so
that. next
Janet,
year.
we got sort of
Yeah.
financial highlights, some
Yeah.
numbers. You're talking about some sort of brief commentary,
Yeah.
narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more
Yeah.
meaty. That's got some.
Easier to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Okay,
easier.
something to
So what?
consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something we can do to keep in
See that, and
compliance.
then you get into the details of why.
And as you do, you could look at what other towns do and maybe get some ideas from
Yeah.
others. Which we,
Yeah.
part of this journey has been looking at what other towns this area are doing. Yeah. All right, good. So let's go on.
not specifically. This was just something, having read a zillion financial statements that kind of came out to me, but that
It's-
was,
I think a suggestion, maybe in your spare time, look at other Fairfield County towns. See, if you find a nice one,
exciting
find a nice one and then say, how about this? Yeah, yeah, good. All right, so the draft audit committee to the town council. Is the council the 10th? Is it the 11th? I got, huh? Is that the 11th? Why am I thinking it's the 10th? It can't be, can it? Yeah, 11th at 7 p.m. So anyway, I want to put that item aside, come back to it,
For the town, okay.
come back to that item. So can we go to item 4, which is the monthly reports? So for the Board of Ed, we got the October. Obviously don't have November yet because it's only the 1st, but we got that. And then, so you'll have those from Roberta.
So October.
Yeah, just highlights
right.
your first
So
page. I think.
through October of 24, our operating fund actual is 28.4 million, or 26% of our full year budget of 109.1. That is about 0.4 points higher or faster than where we were a year ago, indicating that we're spending a little faster, but in reality, it's timing differences.
It's just timing.
Time when, you know, you pay 1 year, you paid it earlier than the last previous year. So nothing really exciting about that. Grants to date, awarded grants to date, 2.1 million with year-to-date expenditures, 216,000, leaving a remaining balance of 1.870 million. School lunch revenue through October totals 715,000, or 23%, 23.2% of our budget of 3,086,504, and it's a year-to-year decrease of 11,000, or minus 1.6%. Total expense through October, 558,000, or 19.6% of our full year budget, and a year-to-year, also a year-to-year decrease of 1.6%. And the decrease in expense primarily attributable to salaries that have not yet, the salary increase for this year actually is being approved by the Board of Ed tonight.
Right.
So there'll be some catch-up adjustments, not a lot, but some catch-up adjustments retro to July 1. Net income currently reflecting a positive 156,000.
Mm-hmm.
So good news there. Facilities rental, it's still early, not much activity there. I wanted to touch on the last page in the package. We're putting a full court press on older capital projects. At the Board of Ed, sometimes it's tough to get things done in one summer.
Sure.
Sometimes they extend to 2 summers or even 3, depending on the size of the contract. So, but we've been working on closing out a lot of these older projects. And we used May 24 as a starting point in terms of the available balances. So we first focused on the really old projects, which were 2019 through 2022. And since May, we've decreased by 777,000, or 71%. So a big decrease in the older projects.
Mm.
Excuse me, decreased because you spent or because you gave it back?
Could be both. I mean, we basically, they were open projects.
Right.
So we spent money, and there may have been some money given back as well.
Okay.
So it could be we're right on budget, in which case there's nothing to give back. But in many cases, there's a small difference, and we give that back
Okay.
to the town. Right.
Right. Okay.
For the projects from full year 23, we decreased by 302,000, closed out projects of 302,000, or 32%. So in total, our projects before full year 24 decreased by over $1 million or 51% of the balance. So making progress there.
Yeah,
And that's all I've got for October.
good. Any further questions?
I just have, and it's maybe I'm missing something on that. I'm just looking at that school lunch program. It's on page 13. I noticed we have a debit, like a negative unearned revenue of 18,000. What unearned revenue is usually a credit? What would that be?
It would be
Prepayment?
deposits, students coming in, presenting a check to build up their
So it's like a
balance.
prepaid.
So it's not earned
Yeah.
yet.
It's really a
Okay.
prepayment, I
Yeah, it's a
guess,
prepaid.
yeah.
Okay. And my only other question was on the facilities, rental, donations and summer school, because those are, that may be because we're at a certain part of the year, but we have a loss in both the facilities rental and the summer school. Now, summer school is obviously finished.
It's typically,
Was that a planned loss or?
sometimes it just takes time to expend some of the money. So you could roll over to the
Oh,
next
okay.
year.
Okay.
It's timing,
So it's a timing thing.
timing difference.
Okay. I mean, we're in surpluses, so it's not an issue, but,
Gotcha.
okay, thank you.
Mary, any further questions?
No, good.
Superintendent, anything you want to add, or was it good? Looks like you're in good shape so far. Fine. Thanks. Yeah.
I'll see you in November.
Yeah. Right. Do we have anything from, I mean, what did we review at the last meeting? October, didn't we?
Yeah.
So you don't have November yet,
Yeah.
right? Okay, that's all right. Yeah, nothing to review there. Right, we done. So that's item 4. So let's go to item 5. Report from the internal audit subcommittee.
Okay, I guess I've got kind of two categories of discussion points. One is on the Cohen-Resnick MSA, and I think we're down to the limitation of liability is still an open point. So I'm going to be working with Ann and Diane just to try to close that out. So that's sort of the one point that's open with respect to the MSA.
Right.
So I hopefully will be able to get that nailed down in the not too distant future after, I've had further discussions amongst, one-on-one with the committee, but I think we want to try to go back on the limitation of the liability. Second of all, with respect to CLA, and it was a sense of the committee, let's first find out if someone like a CLA can look at this whole, jump right in and look at the whole procure to pay end-to-end processes, controls, documentation, processes, testing, as opposed to first doing an enterprise-wide study. I had a quick call in my capacity as chairman with both the partner and sort of the on-site manager that would be the here. And they seemed definitely on board in terms of it's certainly one way to go. They
Good.
understood what we want to do. As a result of that discussion, I then had a follow-up where not only with the two CLA folks, I invited Ann and Diane. Sean was out of pocket for good reason, or he was not able to make the call, but he certainly will be. He and I had a separate discussion anyway. And so it was an opportunity, I think, for CLA and Ann and Diane to kind of exchange some ideas and help CLA think about scoping it. They have right around just recently sent over an informal, it's not a statement of work, but it's something that the subcommittee is going to look at.
Like a draft.
It's a draft. It's not an SOW. There are a couple interesting things in there that I think the subcommittee will want to kind of vet and review and have some iterative back and forth with CLA on. And I'm hopeful that, we could do that, plus the capital side of it. I think they suggested that doing capital at the same time you're doing kind of the whole procure to pay would be too much to bite off at once. So what I don't know yet, but that's the aspiration, would be to both do the whole procure to pay and the capital, if possible by, the end of the fiscal year. I need to reconfirm sort of what our available budgets for these projects are. So we can talk about that separately.
Yeah, obviously we're limited to what's in the budget.
Yeah, so that's sort of
Anything beyond, we'd have to hold over till July. Yeah.
right.
or beyond, yeah.
So I anticipate that we may have an informal, Zoom subcommittee meeting in December. And I know I'm mindful of your calendar from the 19th on, right?
Right.
You're out of pocket,
Go
so
away,
Yeah, I'm going to Toronto for Christmas.
premises.
yeah. So that's sort of where we stand.
Hmm. Good. All right, and from your second conversation, you talked about with Anne and Diane and
Mhm.
are on it, still looking from their side. It could be January start.
Yeah,
and
no,
from
they-
our side,
Yeah, they kind of
timing
mentioned
wise.
January.
Yeah.
And their kind of draft, again, it wasn't an SOW, but it was
Yeah.
explicitly covering both the schools as well as the town.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we can get everything done in this fiscal year within budget, it would be great. Otherwise, if we can't, it'll be a matter of, what do we? Let's see.
Yep.
That'd be the ideal. Okay. So that's that. Then if we can go back to item 3, which is the report to the town council. So for those of you who are new on the committee, we typically the chairman of the committee goes to the town council meeting and makes a brief presentation on the document and recommends that they approve it. And that is and we usually in the past we've put together 3 or 4 slides that go up. And I'll tell you what I think should go in them, and you can tell me if you can think of anything else, all of you. And that is on the 11th at 7 p.m. So first point, Mary, as the secretary, would you be able to join me?
Yeah.
You could.
It's on
Okay.
my calendar.
On your calendar. I didn't have to say a word.
It's okay.
And the rest of you are obviously welcome. It's a public meeting. Anyone can come, but I think it's appropriate if you and I are there. Okay. So as far as I looked yesterday at last year's slides. I mean, there were 4 or 5, I think, sort of things based on that. And there's some changes we would make, but the sort of things that I can think of, and I will put them together and I'll send them to you to have a look at. We typically have a slide which sets out who's on the committee and the number of meetings that we held, just by way of background, so the council is familiar with how we operate. New standards. I don't know if Catherine, if you're there, there's only statement 101 is the only new one. She dropped off, but it is only 101. We typically tell them what's new in town as far as GASB standards. And I think there are a couple for next year. We would tell them that there's a clean opinion coming from PKF and recommend their approval. Now, this year we would have to tell them we went through a proposal process and we reappointed PKF, new lead partner, for 3 years, is it? Contract? 3 years, yeah, I thought so. I mean, they know that, it's just to recap, right? So that's that. Tell them that, no material weaknesses in internal controls that come to light during the course of the audit. And that's about it on the audit. And then on the internal audit side, kind of what you said, I'll tell them that we have signed an MSA with CLA. They know that we'd asked they know from a previous presentation I made, we asked 2 firms to enter into an MSA with us. Well, they had to approve that. We've done the one, and we're hoping to start the first project in January. We're the subcommittee's working on that. I need to tell them we've appointed the subcommittee, of course. And at Cone Resnick, we're still, working on
Finalizing.
finalizing the
Yeah.
MSA, that's it. And then subcommittee, and then I will mention, as we always do, in the back there somewhere, the awards that we got for our work. And that's all I could, anybody think of anything else to say? Okay. It's in there somewhere, mentioning awards. Okay, good. So, unfortunately, let's go to new business. Andrew, any update from you on bonding? Yeah.
No, yep, I'm here. No updates at this point, Robin, because we've, the team has just been focused on preparing these final, drafts of the CAFR, or the ACFR. I still call it by the old name. But I believe the plan is still to go out in, early 25, in the first calendar quarter of 25 to begin working on the next bond issue.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew. New business from committee members. Or any other points. So, Mary.
I'm all set.
So so we can get our 25 calendars up and running. Can you work with the town people to put a calendar in place soon, so
Sure.
we get it dates? I mean, we may end up having additional meetings with the revival of internal audit activity, but
Yes.
otherwise the calendar, I think, would be pretty much the same.
Okay. Before you do, we just check with me because I got those filing dates that I'm kind of sensitive to.
So, Tucker, you said
Thank
you'll draft for something, send it to Mary. Okay.
That would be great. Thanks,
So
Tucker.
we get that done soon. Yeah, like 5. Yeah, I mean, it'd be like five meetings, I think we're with, yeah.
When is typically the first meeting in the new calendar year?
Now you're asking a difficult question. April, is it?
I thought it was February.
I can answer that.
Sooner last year because of the RFP and going out.
Oh, that could be. For some reason, I thought we did.
were April, June, September, November, and December.
Yeah, we will definitively have probably one or a couple special meetings because of the internal.
Absolutely, we will.
The subcommittee will have to make a recommendation.
I mean, when you see the draft calendar, if there's a date that you want to pick, if you have certainty of it, we can put it on. Otherwise, we can arrange additional meetings, as we've always had to do.
It is a little bit easier to schedule the meeting ahead of time. It's much easier to cancel a meeting.
Yes,
so
true.
if you did have a date range, though, we could put something in, and if that changes, that's fine. We schedule it regularly, and you can add things.
Okay.
Trying to do that. Cat Tucker's right. It's easier to cancel. You thinking January sometime?
Oh, yeah.
Well, because I think the audit committee has to approve.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
It's a
we're-
matter of
audit,
do we schedule
And if we're
something
trying to
and
do that in January.
I mean you change the date, right? If you want to, if you
30 days out, you can do it, and it still stays.
yeah. All right.
30
We
days,
should probably
that's plenty
try
of
to
time.
schedule for January for that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Janet, anything?
Nothing for me.
Bill?
Nope.
There's just one thing I wanted to raise. This struck me, and it's not to do with the financial statements. And Deanna, maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't, or Anne. But when we did the investment to move onto natural gas for power and heating for our buildings, including school buildings, with Eversource. I seem to recall there were some federal tax incentives that expire at the end of this year. Does that if I'm right, and I could be wrong, does it mean our Eversource bills will go up next year? Does anyone remember? I mean, it's before your time, I know.
You're not talking about the CHP credit.
Yeah, the CHP credit, yes. Sorry, I couldn't remember the initials. Yeah, the CHP credit is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know, I need to check Joe, how long they expire this year.
I wasn't aware that they expired this year. We have contracted with Deloitte to do.
They
that.
don't expire this year.
I'm not aware that they are.
I don't,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I'll double
didn't-
check. We have a number of different units that were installed in different.
Yeah.
years, so-
And like I said, Deloitte is doing the paperwork for us to get those back because obviously we don't have.
I mean, could you check and just let me know? Out of
The input
interest?
prices are definitely. So, you know, gas needed to run those units
Yeah,
is, you know, so it'll just, in the budgeting process, I think we've gotten some. will be increasing.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it would have been facts about, I'm just interested as if you could come back to me on those CHP credits, yeah. When they mature. Because it's, you know, it's a significant amount of saving that those
Yeah.
bring about. You familiar with that?
Vague, somewhat, yeah.
Okay. That's all I think I've got by way of new business. So it's 9:15. I think, you know, I think the fact that this is significantly shorter than our December meetings have been since I've been on this committee is testament to the quality of the draft that we received. We spent so little time talking about it. So we will, Bill will feed through me any comments he has. Mary has some questions, which she'll talk to you about now or make a time to talk to you now. And then we look forward to receiving just a PDF. We don't need a hard copy, a red line version that we can all look at. And then by consensus, you all let me know if you're happy that, you know, we don't need a meet one by one. If you're happy that we can make the recommendation to town council and we go there next week. Okay. So if there's nothing else, can we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Almost. So
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.
And